Hi there, welcome to I Alone Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Sagittarius energy, and we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because life's about learning lessons and growing up, and in our more worldly, shadowy energy, we can be fearful, insecure, codependent, bossy, controlling, egotistical, self-centered, haven't learned to temper our ego nature. And some people have more so than others. So we're going to kind of read it. You know, people are going to handle this energy differently based on if they've learned to temper themselves and have learned and been enlightened to the truth that it's about love. But if they haven't learned it's about love, they could be more about themselves or indulgence or something else, right? And shadowy energy can be where you're trying to manipulate or control people to get them to do what you want instead of being open and authentic, right? So, Sagittarius is fire sign energy. And all of us in our own fire sign energy of self can be more caught up in the world or more caught up in ourself. High vibe Sagittarius, though, is about willing to learn. We all have these lessons to learn in life. It's just that high vibe people are kind of inspired that when they realize that they have some healing and growing and maturing to do, and maybe see that other people do, they're willing to deal with the truth of it. And some people don't want to deal with the truth, and they keep repeating the same old patterns over and over, hoping for a different outcome. So this might be something particularly that people who are Sagittarius sun sign or have significant Sagittarius placements might be dealing with. But we all tap into Sagittarius energy, and we're dealing with other people in their own Sagittarius energy of kind of what motivates and inspires them and their emotional maturity level and stuff. So listen to where you might be in the story and where some other people might be in the story. So I view this card as the overarching reason for the reading, which is career. And in our more worldly fire sign nature, we could be more caught up in things of the world, focused more on our career at this point in time. We could look at relationships more like a career, like social climbing or something. And so I view this as earth sign energy. We're either putting in work and effort to move forward in life, learning lessons as we go, wanting and inspired to work through our own fears, insecurities, free ourselves from things that manipulate us, or we're just still kind of caught up in the illusion. And at the end of the story, we have the contracts card, which I kind of view as Libra and Taurus energy, kind of what our end goal is of what we think is just and fair. Libra represented by the scales of justice of what we think is just and fair. Taurus, our philosophy of life. In our earth sign energy, is it more about getting into situations because it's good for our status and our image? Or are we authentically getting into things and pursuing things because it's aligned with our truth from love? You know, just like we can get a job that's a great job, but we could hate it, right? We can get in relationships because we want to be in a relationship. Is that why? Or is it because we're motivated to put in work and effort to get the justice we deserve from knowing love is what's going to make it all worthwhile and acting with character and integrity? We start out with the self-image card, and the way I read tarot is that the feminine figures can represent how we think and feel. We can all present ourselves in the world any way we want to. I'm just, I'm fair, I'm stable, I'm grounded, I'm mature, but are we really? So, we've all dealt with maybe having a harsh, critical inner voice, have people in our life who are harsh and critical, or we can work and be inspired. Again, Sagittarius is about wrapping our brain around this game of life. I can criticize myself. I can hang around people who criticize me, or I can choose to put in work and effort to free myself to get the justice I deserve and start treating myself in a more just and fair manner. And some people look to and are inspired to invest their time, energy, and effort into things to make them feel better without really getting to the problem within themselves. And then we have the children card, which can be where we're repeating old patterns because we have some growing up and maturing to do. So we'll keep repeating some old patterns because that kind of is our truth and that's what we think is the answer. And we think it's the answer to our problems. And other people kind of saw how they were repeating past patterns. Why do I keep doing this? And then they got inspired to do this work to get more balance within themselves. I can be tipped out of balance where I'm indulging poor behavior in myself and others, or I can try to figure out why I do that, get more balance within myself. But in earth sign energy, it does take investing time, energy, and effort. And you have to be inspired to even want to see the truth, to get more balance within yourself. We all can have these issues, maybe from childhood, that can keep us in a negative mindset. Are we seeing the truth of it? Are we dealing with the truth of it? If I've already been around people that were unjust, unfair, bossy, controlling, immature, would I keep getting in relationships with people like that? And some people do, because we can kind of be in our ego about it. If we say we grew up with people and they had these certain traits and characteristics that made us feel like they didn't love us, but it could be they just don't really know how to love. And they might have their own issues. And if we can wrap our brain around this game of life to realize that everyone has their issues, and everybody acts out of those issues. And and if you see them kind of act that way, kind of almost regardless of the environment and people they're around, that kind of is their nature, their truth. And it really doesn't have anything to do with us. And then just realizing as we learn life that we've all been more immature, self-centered, bossy, controlling, more caught up in the world. And so are other people. And some people keep staying more caught up in those things, and some people don't. And we accept that everybody has free will to choose to live their life the way they want to live it, and not take it so personally. But we can always be in that energy ourselves, kind of when we're at a certain stage of life and feeling a certain way and viewing life a certain way. We're probably going to get in some relationships with people who to some degree are maybe kind of in the same boat as we are, right? But sometimes we get in these mismatched relationships where we can all, at any given time, we have our own shadow nature about us. Sometimes we get in relationships with people and we could have a lot of things in common, things that we like to do, some philosophies of life, to a degree of what we think is right and wrong, and how we like to spend our time and effort. But with some of the people in our life, we might not realize, and some people might not realize it right now, that we harness this energy differently, and that can really make a big difference in a relationship. The signs card, that is a confusing card to read in this deck. But the thing is, we all have, in tarot, we have the 4 suits of the deck: the heart, the mind, the 3D worldly nature, and the creative inspired nature. But we can harness them differently, and we can tap and align with, like in our emotional nature, we don't really, this is the 6 of Cups, kind of is what it reminds me of, which is Scorpio energy. And we can emotionally like to repeat old patterns of the past. So, we're kind of like a mix of all these different traits and characteristics, because we all tap into our heart and our mind and our 3D nature and our more fire sign nature. But kind of what combination of them are we more aligned with? Are we more aligned with the fixed sign energy, which Scorpio is a fixed sign energy, Taurus is a fixed sign energy, And then it can be hard for people to deal with change, or because they can like doing things the way they like to do it, and that's their comfort zone. That makes them feel, in Taurus and Libra energy within themselves, makes them feel stable, makes them feel balanced. Other people, it's like, I kind of go through a phase of life. I learn lessons at these different phases of life. That can be the abundance card is kind of like the 10 of Pentacles. And then, in the rejection card, I kind of don't want to keep doing that because I've been there and I've done that and I've kind of learned everything I needed to learn. And then other people are more able to tap into maybe their mutable zodiac sign traits and characteristics of Pisces and Sagittarius and Virgo and Gemini to kind of see the truth that there could be a part of me that would like to keep living my life the same way. It's kind of us staying in our comfort zone, and we all like to stay in our comfort zone because we know how that works. And if we go out in the world, then we have the travel card, which is like Sagittarius energy, kind of going to the next destination in life. It's kind of scary because then we have to step out of our comfort zone. And for some people, they're like, nope, I'm not going to do that. It's kind of like, how when you were in school, elementary, junior high, or high school, when you got to that top grade in that level of life, it kind of did feel like you were kind of king of the jungle, right? But then if you go to the next phase of life, you're kind of starting out at a new level and you're like the newbie. And it's the same way some people can stay in jobs because they really know how to do that job. And in a lot of ways, it can be very abundant. But just like who's going to stay a sixth grader, a ninth grader, or a 12th grader like all their life, right? When we're young, we're kind of forced to move on in life. But as we get older in life, and that's how some people could have viewed life. I might have had to do those things when I was young, and I was kind of forced to maybe move out of home when I didn't want to move home. I had to go get a job when I didn't want to get a job. I had to, kind of was forced by maybe people in my life to kind of grow myself and mature myself. But some people really don't like that because they just don't like change, and they're not maybe in their fire sign energy as creative and inspired or hopeful and believing as other people. And then you could kind of look at the career card and the abundance card as, I do have hope and faith and belief, and I think I learned what I needed to learn here. And, it's starting to feel like in the rejection card that, any phase of life can kind of lose its excitement. Being 18 was great. Who wants to be 21 and 25 and you're still living life like an 18-year-old? It's just not, in the rejection card, it's not as abundant as it used to be. And that's if we're inspired to listen to our intuition and put in work and effort to kind of reconcile ourselves with the past lives card, that was a phase of life. I enjoyed that phase of life when I was, say, this certain age, or I had a certain job, but if I want to kind of grow to my full potential, to get the justice I deserve. And Taurus energy also kind of is the Supreme Court in our head, and kind of how we view life and affects the decisions we make. If we don't keep kind of incorporating these lessons into our life as we go, we do kind of keep repeating an old pattern over and over and over, and we're kind of not kind of growing to our full potential. And part of it could be that some people could be lazy, and it does take work and effort, because in the paranoia card, we have fear about doing it. How many people stay at a job that they really maybe feel like they've outgrown, or there's no potential to grow further, but they kind of maybe could feel that I think I am capable of more, I'm ready to go to the next phase, yeah, you have to work through your fear and insecurity about facing those fears, to believe that, it's kind of like my nesting dolls over there. We have the seeds of all these things that we could become if we invest in ourselves, if we work through our own fears, insecurities, self-limiting beliefs. The sixes and emotional water sign can be offering love to it. And the sixes can again talk about getting to a place of balance, that there's things I might have liked about it. I think I'm capable of moving forward, but I do have to reconcile myself with the fact that, again, if I want to grow to my full potential, I need to work through this. Sometimes if we get in a more mismatched relationship, some people do that work within themselves. Periodically, they look through their own fears, their own insecurities, their own self-limiting beliefs. And a lot of times we'll do that when we're in an environment where we could feel like people are working together with us cooperatively in the children card, and where we feel like there's some stability and abundance in our life. I think it's just kind of a normal process that, when things might feel more stable and grounded, that's when people might start to look at some of those issues and, why do I feel that way? And why did I act like that back then? And, we don't beat ourselves up. We just realize, we're on this journey of learning lessons, and we offer ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness. That's high vibe Libra and Taurus energy, aligning with what's just and fair, and like being our own best mother, father, coach voice in our own head, right? Treating ourselves in a just and fair manner like a parent would a child. But some people keep rejecting their own inner child nature. You were wrong, you were bad, you were this, you were that. Those people treated, we can do that if we want. And some people do. They might like to work together with other people to feel more stable and abundant within themselves and grounded, which we can all do. We all like friendships and community. It's just that they could reject their more kind of hopeful, believing nature, or even offering themselves love and compassion and forgiveness. And they may never work through these issues from their past. And so those things keep manipulating them. And some of the people they get in relationship with, they do work through them. Those people are kind of inspired to move forward in life a little differently because they're not the same person they were before. And then, shadowy energy can be where you're kind of jealous and envious, and some people could wonder, like, well, you did change. You kind of used to be in this energy, and now you seem to be more inspired. Like, you did reconcile yourself with some issues from your past. How did you do that? But maybe instead of asking, because, it might be kind of self-evident that they obviously had to do some work within themselves, which the abundance card is kind of reminding me of the 9 and the 10 of Pentacles, which is Virgo energy, where you do this work within yourself to work through some of those issues so you can feel more abundant and stable within yourself. And then some of the ways you used to think and feel about yourself, it's like, I reject that. I might have been, we always have the free will that I might have acted this way. I might have been this type of person. I might have been around people who treated me that way. But if that's not the case anymore, I'm the only one continuing it. I took over for them. They're not even maybe in my life anymore, but I keep belittling and berating myself like they did it, and now I took over their job for them, and now I do it for myself. Well, we can do that, or we can get inspired to free ourselves. Shadowy energy is represented by the devil, the things that manipulate us, control us, oppress us, restrict us, imprison us. And the career card is kind of reminding me in earth sign energy. In addition to Virgo and Taurus, it's also reminding me of Capricorn. And shadowy Capricorn is represented by the devil, where we do let our ego and like other people have more talent, skill, interest, just seem like maybe things that we could be envious of, or certain people could have rejected us at one time. And we could have dealt with people who are just more inspired by their ego and their image instead of maybe being very loving. And it's really to just work through all those things to deal with the truth. Where did I need to heal and grow and mature myself? Offer myself love and compassion and forgiveness. Am I that same person? Do I want to be that same person? Can I change? Yes. Okay, then I forgive myself. I was a fallible human being. I had growing up and maturing to do. What about the people I dealt with? Were they kind of bossy, controlling, immature, competitive, jealous, envious, materialistic, more about their ego? Can we not deal with the truth? But that can be hard for some people. People who harness a more Scorpio energy within themselves, for some, it could be that they kind of have this black and white thinking. And people are either good or people are either all good or people are all bad. And it's hard for them to reconcile that people can have some good traits and qualities and characteristics. And then when we're children, we are a little egocentric, and then when we kind of get older, we can blame our life, especially if we make some mistakes in our life. We can blame everyone else, like, I wouldn't have done that, and I wouldn't be this kind of person, I wouldn't have driven my life off into the ditch if those people had been this type of person, or had acted this way, or been more loving and encouraging. Could that have helped? Maybe. Who really knows if we were to think about it? The whole thing is we do have to deal with the reality and the truth of what was. And maybe we would have kind of done and went and pursued some of the things we went to go pursue just because we wanted to go pursue them, and indulge in those things. So instead of blaming everyone else, we take responsibility for what we're responsible for, but equally give responsibility to what other people should be accountable for. Now, you could know some people in your life who you think, because, high vibe energies, being more independent in the world, being more authentically yourself, and that's a process of becoming. And some people still could have always kind of hidden behind their ego and their image or their status or their looks or their money or their family, whatever, right? And then they could have in turn kind of built their self-worth more about those things. And then if they make those things what's kind of valuable and important about them, and if they in turn, though, and some people, just because that is their natural inclination, I think my self-worth is defined on who I'm in a relationship, how much money I have, how much power I have, how much status I have, who I deem as having a certain status and image as wanting to be in a relationship with me. And sometimes they're kind of in competitive energy where they're almost more determined to try to they can get upset if certain people don't want to keep being in a relationship with them, and viewing them as very abundant, because they could view themselves as very abundant, but you could find them, again, a little lacking in love. In a lot of ways, it can look very good, and in a lot of ways, it can be good, but shadowy Scorpio can be that it just seems a little more emotionally shallow and superficial, and like it is more for the ego or the image or the status. And And then if that isn't what really drives and motivates you, and something could have been going on in the situation that kind of made you look at, is this my truth? Isn't this my truth? Do I want to stay in this job, friendship, or relationship? And as you work through some of your own issues, then some people who are like that can want to not have you around because you're not viewing life like they view life. And we all like to kind of hang out with people who view life the way we view it. And if that's not your truth, it also kind of illuminates that they might kind of be tipped out of balance in making those things more important in their life than they like to acknowledge to themselves. And then because they want to maybe keep moving forward, repeating that pattern, they can not really invest in you because your truth is different. And they could want people to leave, but they don't want them to maybe see the truth of why they want you to leave. So sometimes people can do things that are kind of hurtful and unkind and kind of immature and maybe focus more on these other things, just hoping that you'll kind of see that they're not putting in work and effort, and either that you'll get caught up in your head and start to work more together with them the way they kind of like to operate in the world, or that maybe you'll leave and maybe still be confused about the truth of why they did what they did, why they act the way they do. But if people view themselves as being like a person who's just and fair and stable and grounded and loving and nurturing, and they're not shadowy, they're not prideful, they're not immature, they're not kind of inflexible and, kind of in things for an ulterior purpose than love, they can really be paranoid when they don't move forward with people and might do things to try to get people who kind of really are who they say they are. That would be high vibe Taurus, where you really are someone who's more balanced and just and fair and kind of are who you say you are, and you are more inspired to put in work and effort to free yourself from kind of stagnant, dead, repetitive energy. But since their life can be more about being motivated by the world or ego or themself or image and things like that, they don't want other people to know. That's why they didn't want to move forward with people in their life who seem to be what a lot of people would think the type of person they want to be in a relationship with. But it could require them to do some of this work within themselves to get more balance within themselves, because they're tipped more in balance of being either about themselves or the world or things they like to indulge in to make themselves feel better, or ego or defensiveness or competitiveness, immaturity, something. And they don't want people to know that that's why they didn't move forward with you or some other people in their life, right? And if you had some people who did that to you, yeah, it could have been really hurtful and you didn't understand why, but you weren't going to keep staying in a situation, even though for a long time in your Sagittarius nature, you could have been really loving and encouraging, because that's what high vibe people do, even in high vibe fixed sign energy. You put in a lot of work and effort to try to make things work, to be just, to be fair, to be balanced, to keep moving things forward in a stable, grounded way, for things to be victorious in your earth sign energy. But there can come a time Where if the other people keep kind of repeating an old pattern and you're trying to move things forward and they kind of want to keep staying over here, you kind of realize that, and that could be like, and some people right now could be like, uh-oh. That you just kind of realize what motivates and inspires you is different. And if you want to keep staying in a relationship with them, they have their truth, they have their philosophy of life, they have their idea of the dream life and what the end goal should be, and yours are different. And then it can be scary to communicate our truth. And some people could be at that stage in jobs or friendships or relationships, employees or employers, that, oh my gosh, I was really hoping this was going to work out the way I thought, but it doesn't seem like we have different directions that we want to go, have different ideas of what we think is just and fair. We'd all like the things that we've invested in to work. Instead of going and getting a new job, a new friend, a new relationship. And so and some people then will stay in those jobs, friendships, or relationships, even though they could be a more loving and encouraging person and in a more mismatched dynamic, until they get ready. We'll all stay in certain situations until it kind of becomes so unbearable and restrictive and confining and oppressive and shadowy Libra, Taurus. Because again, in shadowy Sagittarius, it can either just be what they're motivated and inspired by is different, or they're kind of being immature and they could maybe be hurtful and unkind, not willing to work together with you in a more just and fair way. And, some people will stay in those situations longer than some other people will, but we all have our tipping point, and we all have to listen to our own intuition until we kind of feel stable and grounded within ourselves that I am ready to go. And then when some people are ready to go, then they might have to take this time. So I'm kind of looking now at the laziness card as taking time to rest. Other people might think you're not putting in work and effort or don't want to be involved in certain things, but it really might be that you're just taking time to work through. Some of these situations that people went through were more shocking. And, in a way, the paranoia card's just reminding me of like, shit, I listened to my intuition. I thought these people were who they said they were. And they seemed like they were who they said they were. They seemed like a just, fair, stable, grounded, reasonable person. And then I could have found out that, I don't know, let's ask, what is this signs card trying to convey to us today? The King of Wands, the Hierophant, the Queen of Wands, the Moon card, the Strength card, the Four of Swords, and the Five of Cups. And the reason is because of the Nine of Swords. Okay, so the Nine of Swords is Gemini energy, about our free will. We either, because there's a maximum of 10 in every suit, there can be a lot of things in the Nine of Swords. It's like all these things that seem to have lined up. Yep, we like this. Yep, we get along on that. Yep, we have some common viewpoints and ideals or some end goals. We can work through all these things with people in a relationship, but then it gets to that last sword. This is the 9. In order to close out an old way of living life, we'd have to complete the cycle of the 10. And so maybe it could be in our Gemini energy of free will, of kind of what our truth is. We can be in relationships with the King of Wands, with people. We can all be motivated and inspired to be in a relationship or a workplace. Inspired, and the Taurus Hierophant can represent all these different institutions of the world. We all want those things, right? And in the Queen of Wands, we kind of want those things emotionally. And there could be people, the wands can mean too that it can be things that we're motivated and inspired by. Again, be in a relationship, create a family, have a job. But then in the middle, between this side and this side, is the moon card. And the moon card can talk about these things that could be kind of hidden beneath the surface. And again, it could be more the mix of the zodiac sign traits and characteristics more that we tap into, which ones we might harness more in a high vibrational way, which ones we don't as much and don't maybe invest as much time, energy, and effort because we could think they're less important. You could have yours, other people kind of have theirs. On this side, we have the Strength card, which is, I view the Queen of Wands as Leo energy, but we can harness our Leo energy different. One person could have more tempered their ego nature, and the other person maybe not so much. Then we have the Four of Swords, which is Libra energy of what we think is just and fair. But over here, we have the Taurus Hierophant. And the Taurus Hierophant in shadow can be more, well, you're supposed to live your life like this, and you're supposed to act like this. And it's kind of more man-made. This is what is just and fair. This is how my parents lived their life. This is how my friends live their life. And high vibe energy is, I adhere to a higher truth and justice, and that seems stuffy or condescending or snobby or materialistic or hurtful or unkind. And some people, though, they justify it for some of these reasons of the world, right? Who most likely would want things to stay the way they were? The people who benefit the most from things staying the way they were. Who most wants things to change? Probably people who felt hurt by that old way of doing things. Or know that other people get hurt when things keep being more inspired. Two fire sign energies surrounding the Hierophant. You should live your life like this. You should act like this. You should dress like that. You shouldn't talk to these people. You should talk to those people. How about I live my authentic life in high vibe Leo? And I go treat other people the way I like to be treated in a just and fair way from love. Well, you just can't do that. Why not? Well, we have a certain image and status we have to maintain. You might go do this. You might go talk to those people. You might act like this. You might dress like that. You might not go to these functions, and you might go to those functions. And what would people say? It's like that I was living my authentic life, and it doesn't have anything to do with what other people choose to go do on a daily basis, or what they go to attend, or what I don't go to attend. I have my own authentic life to live. And I'm going to listen to love and intuition to guide me. And that's where some people let more their worldly, egoic nature run their life. Some people participate in all these things, hang out with all these certain people, act these certain ways, dress these certain ways, do all these certain things. They don't even want to do them. But they do them because that's what you got to do, they think. It's like, well, if that's what you want, if that's how you want to live your life, you can, but that can be in the moon, more caught up in the illusion of the world and hiding your more authentic nature, living your more authentic life. And some people find it kind of unloving. In the Five of Cups is like the Six of Cups, Scorpio energy. I kind of feel like it's like working together with people, but more like emotionally trying to manipulate them than really working together with them from love. And we've all had growing up and maturing to do and to temper our fear and our insecurity and our ego and our lust and our greed and being more caught up in these things of the world. It's just that some people, just like people at age 15, 18, and 21 and 25, could look at life differently than 35, 45, and 55. Just some people are still more caught up in it than some other people, and we didn't realize it. So let's see what's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming up. I felt some cards flip in the deck. Okay. The Two of Cups, the King of Cups, the Two of Cups, King of Cups, Ten of Cups, the Tower, the Six of Cups, and the Seven of Pentacles. And the reason is because of the Knight of Cups. So the Tower can be where we kind of see the truth, some core truth in a foundation of a philosophy of life, of people in a workplace, or the truth of kind of what ultimately drives some people that we could be in a relationship. And the reason this came out is because of the Knight of Pentacles, which I view as Pisces energy, just like the Moon card. Some people create the illusion they're motivated and inspired by love, but they're really kind of aligned with the kings. Can represent, whether they're male or female, they present themselves in the world as a loving family person. Like they want to be in, they create the illusion they want to be in relationships based on love. But that can just be an illusion they create so that people will get in relationships with them. But it really is more maybe driven and motivated to be in a relationship, maybe so someone will love them. But that's also like shadowy King of Wands, where in male or female, they're kind of a little bit more about themselves. I want to be in a relationship with someone who's maybe loving and encouraging and supportive in a relationship. I'm creating an illusion because I have a lot of fear or insecurities or don't know how to love myself, or I want to have a certain status or image, and I'm hoping that I can manipulate you to stop you from seeing the truth that I really don't work together with you cooperatively from truth and love, because I'd have to free willingly, in my Gemini nature of free will, to choose to operate with people from that foundation. But that's not my truth. I like to maybe live more from my mind than my heart. I get hurt doing love. So I fear love. And I don't want to maybe put in the work and effort to figure out why. And so I'm always fearful in a relationship and don't trust other people and don't trust love, or I just am in it more for me and the ego and the image. And I'm always afraid other people will want for more. And eventually the high vibe people in their life do. Because the high vibe people chose to offer them self-love, and they chose to harness these energies in a high vibe way, I'm going to take action in my life to align with my more loving, hopeful, and believing nature, which I could have been doing already. And I see the truth. I need to let go of the people in my life who harness this energy in a shadowy way. They want to repeat these old patterns in their Seven of Pentacles Taurus philosophy of life. Let's just create the illusion of how wonderful our life is, and you keep doing love and I'll keep operating from my shadow nature. Let's ignore the truth. Let's create the illusion that everything's wonderful and fine, and we'll just keep moving forward like this. Well, I keep trying to figure out if I'd ever want to do love. It's like, you know what? I've been in a relationship or a friendship with you long enough to know that you don't choose love. And I've seen the truth probably many times that being more just, fair, stable, grounded, acting with character and integrity, having some hope and faith and belief in yourself or in me or in love. That is not what you choose. You keep choosing to thinking you let go of harnessing this energy in a high vibe way, and you go repeat some poor past patterns because you apparently have not seen the truth that these are not good patterns to keep repeating, which in shadowy Taurus that anyone can harness is just stubborn, prideful, unbudging. Again, maybe because I have a certain status image in the world, or because I know you love me, I'm going to be hurtful and unkind. And I bet because you're such a loving person and you don't want to leave, I bet you'll kind of give up on that and you'll come back and do the relationship the way I want you to do it. And people could have done that for a long time. It's like, I'm not willing to do that anymore. I might do that thinking hopefully one day you'll work through these issues, but I see that you apparently don't want to work through whatever the issues are that make you choose to view life the way you view it. And so those things keep manipulating you. Your past pain and heartbreak, your fears, your ego nature, your more immature nature, the world, other people in your life, whatever it is, that is apparently, you reject being inspired to free yourself from things that manipulate you. And I can't make other people see the truth. And for some people, they're like, I don't want to free myself. This is my truth. You just didn't want to see it. If I was motivated and inspired to be that type of person, I would have been that type of person from the time you met me. But so long as people don't want to see the truth of who I am, and you think, oh, you can change me, and hey, are you a loving and encouraging and supportive and great person to kind of be in a relationship with? Yeah, I'll indulge myself in a relationship with you as long as it lasts. And then when you do finally see the truth and kind of see through the illusion that I'm not like I present myself to be, this is my truth, to harness this energy in a more shadowy way. And I have the free will to do that, and that's what I choose. And I guess until you see it over and over and over, so long as people keep indulging me in that way, I'll keep staying in it because it works for me. Until the other people realize this doesn't work for me. And I am not repeating that pattern. I'm no longer going to invest in it. And I'm offering myself that cup of love to stand up for myself and love myself enough to believe I deserve to be in relationships with people who do work together with me more cooperatively from love. And maybe I had my own issues, which is why I was drawn and attracted to getting in some of these relationships, was for me to work through some of my issues to free myself. And then when I freed myself from it, now I'm ready to be in relationships with people who harness these energies in a high vibe way. High vibe Cancer, high vibe Pisces, Scorpio, all three of the water signs, all three of the earth signs. In my emotional nature and my worldly nature, I am more aligned with hope and faith and belief and love. And I kind of see in your emotional and my fire sign energy. And I see in your emotional nature, worldly nature, and fire sign energy, that's not your truth. It's still more tipped in favor, which is what the sevens can talk about, that you're either still more about the world, your ego, your self-protective nature, your defensive nature, your stubborn nature, being more about yourself, or not willing to be more authentically yourself. That's kind of what the Six of Cups can talk about. If I'm being authentically myself and I'm letting my more authentic, vulnerable nature out to play in the world, I want to be in relationships with other people who are willing to do that. Otherwise, I'm kind of in a relationship with someone's cardboard cutout person because their ego is running their life and they're more emotionally loving, authentic nature is just looking out through the eyeballs, but their more egoic, defensive nature never lets that part of them come out to play because they get hurt out there. Or they're just more about themselves, and really that just is the truth, and they just align with their more immature nature, and it's just more about them. And that is the truth of who they are. Either way, because high vibe people offered love to themselves and the situation, they were able to come to a place of peace about it, to heal, to accept the truth. It doesn't have anything to do. I can only do what I can do. Did I act in a way that I can be proud of? And we've all kind of maybe been in relationships and moved on from relationships where we didn't. We still offer ourselves love and compassion and forgiveness to make peace with it, to invest in doing better and doing this work within ourselves to heal. But as people did get out of some situations and move forward in their life, then as they're moving forward in their life, there's always going to be other people in the world, your own more worldly, shadowy nature and immature nature is going to try to stop you because your shadow nature wants to be in the driver's seat of your life. Other people in the world who are in more worldly, shadowy energy are going to want to be the next person to indulge in a friendship or relationship with you. And it's just about listening now more to your intuition than letting these things of the world that you want kind of more drive and influence you. Seeing the truth of who's who to the best of your ability. Maybe getting to know people, to get to know them and listen to your intuition about what their truth is and what their truth isn't, and if they're more prideful or egotistical or manipulative or immature or self-indulgent or whatever. And the people who you think are more on the same page as you, and the people who have been working together with you through the ups and the downs and still working together to both grow, you and them and other people, to keep growing and healing and maturing yourself, you're going to keep moving forward with those people. But you've seen the truth of people in your life that you see kind of operate from a different philosophy of life, that might wear a false mask, that really aren't kind of driven and motivated so much by having hope and faith and belief and love. And you wish them peace, and you go find people in the world who you think are more motivated and inspired to invest in love because they're balanced within themselves. They've done this work that, do I want these things of the world? Yes. Do I want to manipulate and control people to get those things? No. Do I think it should be all about me? No. Do I think it should be all about them? No. And when's enough enough? We all can put in work and effort to have some stability and security and enjoy some of the finer things in life. But I also want to be in loving and authentic and encouraging and supportive relationships, because if I have these things in the world but I don't have that, it's kind of like a resounding gong. If I have people who are only in a relationship with me because of my looks or my image or my status or my power or my clout, or that's the only reason I'm with them, really? Well, then a relationship is more like a job. Is that how I want to live my life? Or would I rather be in loving and encouraging and supportive environments and workplaces with people who work together with me and are encouraging and supportive? And I might have to give up some of these things of the world, but there's a price we pay in our free will. We make this choice or we make that choice. There's always a trade-off. And some people chose to let go of aligning with their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. And when they did that, they kind of rejected the hopeful, believing, loving people in their life. And they chose to align with being more about these other things, and then they chose to align with people who could make their life more about those things. Or trying to find someone new who doesn't yet know the truth about them, and they go repeat this pattern all over with someone else. And then they're in the same boat they were the last time, knowing that if those people ever work through some of their issues, they know they're going to have to end the relationship because it's going to bother them, and they're going to get in their ego and their competitive nature, or you're not indulging me enough, or you want me to be more just and fair, and no, I'm not doing that. So what's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Sagittarius energy that they might not see coming up? The Six of Swords, the Empress, the Knight of Pentacles, the Six of Cups, because of the Two of Wands. When people are acting kind of shadowy in workplaces, friendships, or relationships, they're always going to have some more high vibrational people around them, right? And some of those high vibrational people in their life, in fire sign energy, wanted a dream to come into reality in the Six of Swords. They wanted to give birth to something new, and they wanted to be in more Six of Cups, deep, meaningful relationships. But eventually the high vibe people in their life see that these people's truth is they want to keep giving birth to the same thing and repeating this old pattern. And if you're not willing to do it, they'll go find someone else who is. They want to do things the way they've done it. They do not want to give birth to something new. And their answer to thinking the way to change their life or look like they've healed, grown, matured, changed, sometimes is just to go get in a different relationship or go get a different job. And they think they're like one step closer to their dream coming into reality, if it is people who are more like social climbers. But the problem is they're the same person they were in the last job or relationship. They didn't heal or grow or mature themselves, but sometimes they try to make it look like they did by the next relationship they get into. See, I've moved on. See, I must not be that same person. See, I must have healed. See, I'm not acting in those more immature ways. Like, not yet. They're just wearing their false mask with the next person or the next job. And some of the people in their life see that they keep repeating these patterns. And so some of the people in their life are going to move on because they do and are inspired to be in these more authentic, balanced, loving relationships. And they could love them, but they keep seeing the other people, it's more superficial and shallow. It's more about them. It's more about the ego or the image or the status. Or they keep, if they're just friends, they're family members, they just keep seeing, they keep repeating this pattern. They never want to deal with the truth. And some people kind of like the high of new relationships. I want to get in a relationship. That seems really great. I love it. The endorphins, it makes me feel great, makes me feel better. And hopefully, maybe for the people who are more vindictive and spiteful and angry, if it makes someone else feel bad, that makes me feel like I'm the boss and I'm so powerful. It's like I'm God in the world. And it's a false sense of empowerment, though. But if people are hurtful and unkind and unjust and unfair, and they build their self-esteem off of it, and they think like, I'm this just and fair person, and I lied to this person, I manipulated this person, and I bet this person will feel rejected and they'll be pining after me forever. It's a false sense of empowerment. It's a lazy way to try to feel abundant within yourself and feel better and more powerful. And when the people that are at the other end of these shadowy people's ways of behaving, when these people choose to love themselves and are no longer caught up in the illusion of these people and have come to a place of peace that I see through the illusion of who you are and move on, well, for one thing, it kind of disrupts the illusion that they were hoping to have. It kind of reveals the truth, but then, of course, they can try to confuse other people about the truth of who really is just and fair and acts with character and integrity. And of course, they say it's them. And again, they might have a certain status or image and put in work and effort for a long time to have that. So then they think they can do these kind of more hurtful and unkind things. And how many articles and stuff have been all over the news of some people who might have a lot of power and influence in the world that were very hurtful and unkind to other people, but thought because they had this certain status or image or whatever that they could do these shadowy things and get away with it. And eventually the truth comes to light. And just by the fact that some of the high vibe people in their life move on and they're still doing just fine, for some of those people, it really deflates their sense of feeling powerful because, you know, people can throw you under the bus and kick you to the curb. They wanted you to stay there. So every time they go by, they can see you sitting there and you picked yourself up and loved yourself and moved on. And now they got to find someone else maybe to throw under the bus and kick to the curb for their false sense of empowerment. And then it really bothers them that you reconciled yourself and healed. Why do some shadowy people act like that? Probably because they got some issues that they haven't healed from. And then they're jealous that they again might have some of these things of the world, but you have like true abundance in your life. Because for one, you're not a shadowy, jealous, petty, envious, hurtful, unkind, bossy, controlling, manipulative, full of yourself type of person. You actually try to inspire other people to love and believe in themselves. They don't. It's all about them. People are supposed to indulge them. People are supposed to want to be in a relationship with them. It's kind of like two different ways about going in the world, trying to get people to be in a relationship with you and like follow your lead. Well, I think shadowy people eventually see other people go towards the more loving people. And some of them might find out that some of the people who might have been willing to be in a relationship with them for the status, the ego, or the image, well, that is kind of what drives and motivates them. And they might see some of those people leave. Because if you're not in a relationship because of love, why are you in it? And if it's one of those other reasons, well, what do those people have? I'm not in this for love. This is more to be in a relationship or to indulge myself or to travel or have money or status or power. What do you got? Oh, okay. Yep, I'll come be in a relationship with you. And if anybody if they in turn try to get someone else to maybe heal or grow and mature themselves, why should they expect other people to heal and grow and mature themselves when they're not willing to? And they're not. But they certainly think some other people should. And of course they think those people should because they have this certain status or image. Loving people might want people to heal and grow and mature. And they could think you're equally in turn bossy, but you're doing it from love for people to free themselves. They think because they have these certain things, people should want to do that work to invest in them. But because of these things, not because they're a loving, encouraging, just, fair, inspiring person. It's like, well, no, I have a certain status or image, or I look a certain way, male or female. But they get in relationships with people that those people kind of have their patterns. If they were motivated to heal and grow and mature themselves, they maybe wouldn't be like the rest of us, get in a relationship with them, But we all have lessons learned from people like this. And as people learn the truth about people like this and they have the free will, is this my truth? Is this how I want to move forward? And the high vibe people say, nope, I'm leaving. And new people come in to work with those people at jobs and be in friendships and relationships, and the next people could move on. And the people who are going to stay are maybe the people who are more about shadowy Aquarius, Libra, Taurus, Earth sign, Virgo, and Scorpio. I'm more about those things of the world too. I want to look like a shining star. Would we seem to have these things and have this certain status and image, or I'll indulge you in your ego? That's also shadowy Taurus energy of a relationship. Well, who has more of these things of the world? Because that's what we think is most important. If I have them, you should indulge me. If you're not indulging me, I'm going to leave you, or I want you to go. And either I'll find someone else to indulge me, or I will find someone else to indulge who has those things. But if people aren't in a relationship because of love, it's always just looking for someone else who they think is more willing to indulge them, and they get out of relationships. And if some high vibe people who've already gotten out of those kind of relationships have someone come towards them who presents them as being themselves as being this loving person, and they get to know them and they realize that's not the truth of who you are. You really are a more worldly, shadowy person. That relationship just didn't work out. Either the people you were trying to indulge to get them to, for you to benefit in some worldly way, didn't work out, or the people who had been indulging you aren't indulging you anymore, and now you want to come indulge in a relationship with me. Well, I've already been in relationships with people who are like that, and I am going to get to know you to find out what your truth is. And if that's your truth, no, I'm not doing that again. I've already been in that kind of relationship. If you are not someone who is being authentic and truthful and balanced and just and fair and authentic, I'll keep focused maybe on my career and my unique talent, skills, and interests. And I'll let people who want to be lazy and live more from their mind and repeat old patterns do that with someone else. I'm moving on to go invest and be in friendships and relationships with people who are more authentic and loving. And you can do this worldly track or indulgence track with someone else. And if someone wants to be in a relationship with me, they're going to have to do this work within themselves to really be authentic. It's not about hiding behind your ego. And it's not more about you. If you're going to work together with other people, I'm my own individual. I have my own dreams. You're your own individual. You have your own dreams. And together we work together for a common goal. And some of the high vibe people that have been in more mismatched relationships see the truth of that. And they do this work to reconcile themselves with this situation and other situations in their past so they can move forward in those more high vibrational relationships. So there you go, Sagittarius. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.